A brand new poll has sent shockwaves through Canadian politics. Prime Minister Mark Carney is pulling far ahead of Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. The numbers aren't close. Carney sits at 51%, while Poilievre trails badly, stuck at just 28%.
Carney still has a very big lead on him, but what are we seeing when it comes to the latest preferred prime minister numbers?
Well, when we ask Canadians who they would prefer as prime minister, Mark Carney still has a significant advantage. Matt, he's at around 51% of Canadians, with Pierre Poilievre over 20 points back at around 28 or thereabouts. And Matt, this has been the same trend line that we've seen throughout the last federal election and coming out of the last federal election. What's clear, at least, is that the Liberal advantage that we see today is largely about Mark Carney. It's not about people liking the Liberals. It's not about people liking what's happened in the last 10 years. It's been about Mark Carney as an individual and him having some brand strength.
That's not just a lead, it's domination. And here's the kicker. Canadians might not be rallying around the Liberal Party itself. They're rallying around Mark Carney as an individual, his leadership, his vision, his achievements. From standing up to Washington's bullying, to diversifying Canada's trade, to rebuilding the military, to attracting global investment, Carney has shown both Canadians and the world what real leadership looks like. Meanwhile, Pierre Poilievre, despite all his slogans and sound bites, hasn't delivered much of anything. So tonight, we're going to break down why the divide is widening, how Carney built such commanding numbers, and what it means for the next federal election. The poll numbers tell a story bigger than just a snapshot. Carney at 51%, Poilievre at 28%. That's a gap of more than 20 points. In Canadian politics, such a lead is rare. It signals more than just temporary popularity. This isn't about liberals versus conservatives. Pollsters are making it clear. Canadians are putting their faith in Mark Carney himself. His personal approval ratings are higher than his party's. That means Carney has managed to do something very few leaders achieve: separate his own brand from the party brand. Why is that important? Because even voters who may not traditionally support the Liberals are saying, I trust Carney. That's a powerful political weapon. It insulates him against party fatigue, builds cross-partisan respect, and makes him appear presidential in a Canadian system that rarely produces larger-than-life leaders. And that's a warning sign for Poilievre. If Canadians are already seeing Carney as a national statesman, then Poilievre's job isn't just to win an election. It's to convince Canadians to turn away from someone they already trust. That's an uphill battle point. One of the biggest reasons Carney enjoys this trust is his willingness to stand up for Canadians in the face of American pressure. When Donald Trump returned to the White House, many feared Canada would once again be bullied into submission, forced into unfair trade negotiations, and mocked as a junior partner. But Carney refused to play that role. He forged a stronger alliance with Mexico, ensuring Canada couldn't be cornered in trilateral trade talks. When the U.S. slapped tariffs on Canadian goods, Carney didn't flinch. He pushed back with targeted measures and rallied international support. And importantly, when Trump's envoy Pete Hoekstra claimed Canadians perhaps most weren't passionate enough about the U.S., Carney's reply was sharp and uncompromising. He reminded Washington that it was America who started trade wars, attacked Canadian sovereignty, and tried to humiliate Canadian leaders. Canadians saw a prime minister who defended their pride and dignity without apology. This isn't the kind of fight Canadians have often seen from their leaders. Too many times, governments have backed down or sought compromise at any cost. Carney broke that pattern, and Canadians are rewarding him for it. For decades, Canada's economic lifeline ran almost exclusively through the United States. And for decades, politicians talk about diversifying, but very few ever truly did. Carney changed that. Recognizing the risk of relying on a neighbor whose politics swing wildly from one administration to another, Carney prioritized opening new doors. He deepened Canada's partnership with Mexico, strengthened ties with Europe, and pursued bold trade discussions with Asia. He secured agreements that brought Canadian products into new markets, from energy and agriculture to tech and innovation. And here's the key: these weren't symbolic gestures. They translated into real contracts, real jobs, and real investment. Canadians in the West saw new energy export deals. Farmers in the prairies saw expanded markets. Tech hubs in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver saw foreign capital pour in. By diversifying trade, Carney gave Canadians something priceless: economic security. The sense that Canada's prosperity is no longer tied to Washington's mood swings, that as leadership Canadians can measure in their paychecks, their job security, and their future. Then there's defense, an issue Canadians have long wanted to see taken seriously. For decades, the military was underfunded, under-equipped, and often overlooked. Governments promised change, but nothing substantial materialized. Carney broke that cycle. He committed to meeting NATO's 2% defense target 7 years ahead of schedule. Billions were invested in modern equipment, Arctic sovereignty patrols, cyber defense, and advanced technology for Canadian troops. Why does this matter? Because Canada isn't just a middle power anymore. With the Arctic becoming a geopolitical hotspot and global conflicts intensifying, Canadians know their sovereignty is at stake. Carney gave them confidence that Canada is no longer neglecting its military obligations. For soldiers and veterans, it was long overdue recognition. For ordinary Canadians, it was reassurance that their country's defense is in capable hands. And when Canadians see Carney shaking hands with NATO leaders, commanding respected defense summits, and putting Canadian security at the top of the agenda, they see something they wanted for years: seriousness. But Carney didn't just focus abroad. He brought the same seriousness to nation building at home. His government launched infrastructure projects across the country, not just in major cities, but in smaller communities too. Roads, bridges, transit systems, renewable energy projects. These reshaped Canada's landscape. But more than concrete and steel, Carney focused on the economy of the future. He opened doors for renewable energy investment, clean tech hubs, and advanced manufacturing plants. Billions in foreign capital poured into Canada, creating jobs and cementing the country's reputation as a safe and attractive place to invest. And Canadians noticed. When they see new transit lines in their cities, new jobs in their communities, and new industries emerging, they connect it to Carney's vision. This isn't abstract policy. It's real progress. And it's showing up in the polls. Beyond Canada's borders, Carney has become something rare. A Canadian Prime Minister recognized as a global leader. He isn't just another politician. His background at the Bank of England, the IMF, and the Bank of Canada gave him unique credibility in international finance. As Prime Minister, he has leveraged that credibility to give Canada a louder, more respected voice on climate change. He's been a leading advocate for sustainable finance. On global conflicts, he has spoken with moral clarity. His strong support for Ukraine, including attending Independence Day celebrations and pledging Canada's unwavering backing, earned respect across the democratic world. Canadians see this. They see their Prime Minister treated as an equal by presidents and chancellors, listened to in boardrooms and summits, and respected as someone who understands the complexities of global politics. That sense of pride that Canada is being taken seriously is something Carney delivers, and something Poilievre simply doesn't project. And that's the contrast. Poilievre may lead the Conservative Party, but he hasn't convinced Canadians he can lead the country. His strategy has been heavy on criticism, light on solutions. He can tear down, but he hasn't shown he can build up. His policies remain vague. His record of delivering results is minimal. When Canadians compare him to Carney, the gap is glaring. Carney is seen as serious, measured, globally respected. Poilievre is seen as partisan, combative, untested. While Carney is diversifying trade, strengthening defense, and attracting investment, Poilievre is still recycling talking points. Canadians can see the difference between a prime minister and an opposition politician. And right now, they're rewarding Carney. Mark Carney's commanding poll lead isn't an accident. It's the product of hard choices, strong decisions, and real results. He stood up for Canadians against Washington's pressure. He diversified trade. He strengthened the military. He launched nation-building projects. He attracted global investment. And he emerged as a global leader respected across the world. For Poilievre, the road ahead is daunting. Unless he can move beyond rhetoric and prove he can actually deliver, he doesn't stand a chance. But for now, the polls are clear. Canadians want Mark Carney, not just as a prime minister, but as their voice, their defender, and their leader in an unstable world. This is Canada Today. Subscribe for more in-depth analysis of the stories shaping Canada's future.